It is often said that every woman harbors a moment, a secret so profound that she cannot bring herself to admit it, even in the quietest corners of her own mind. It all started in a gallery hidden on the outskirts of the city, where his photographs lingered like whispers, eager to be discovered. I stood by my husband naturally. The event was sponsored by his firm. He glided through the room with his characteristic polished assurance, exchanging handshakes, savoring champagne, embodying the persona of a devoted husband and an ambitious executive. I dutifully played my role, offering smiles when required, laughter at the right moments, and nodding along to conversations that barely registered in my mind. Yet, at that moment he entered the room. Marco, the artist behind the lens, tall and enigmatic, with a camera still slung across his chest as if it were an extension of himself, navigated the room with an air of detachment, as though he were a visitor in a world that was not quite his own. Eyes roving, lips curving just slightly, until they settled upon my figure. His gaze held an unsettling intensity, devoid of any semblance of safety, yet I found myself unable to turn away. I endeavored to be discreet, I truly did. I turned back to the art, allowing my eyes to drift over the hazy cities and still lovers, yet his gaze lingered, warm and unyielding, as if I were already ensnared, captured within the focus of his attention. My husband found himself engaged in a conversation on the other side of the room, and in that moment I experienced a profound sense of solitude for the first time that evening. A voice whispered close to my ear, "You're not paying attention to the photos." I spun around, taken aback, and there he stood, Micah, uncomfortably near, his gaze locked onto mine. "I am," I responded, with a delicate grace that seemed to waver. "They possess a striking audacity." He smiled slowly and with an air of understanding. "The audacious ones remain hidden, tucked away in the rear. I prefer not to display them openly." His intent hovered in a space that straddled both invitation and challenge. My heart raced. I ought to have turned on my heel, sought out my husband, and dismissed this as mere playful banter. Yet I chose to pursue him, navigating a slender corridor, slipping past luxurious velvet drapes, and entering a softly illuminated room enveloped in silence. The images presented were distinct, capturing an intimacy where bodies melded in shadow and light, with emotions laid bare and unrefined. Micah lingered just behind me, his presence radiating warmth that I could almost touch. "In this space I capture only the truth," he declared. "Everything else is merely for display." With deliberate slowness I turned. His eyes were not merely gazing at me, they were probing, and the silence that enveloped us was far from void. It throbbed with unspoken tension. "May I share with you the way I perceive you?" he inquired. My lips parted, yet silence enveloped me. He required no affirmation. The truth was already evident to him. Micah refrained from making contact, at least for the moment. Instead, he extended his hand toward the camera, his fingers moving with a deliberate slowness, as if that very action were a prelude to something more intimate. "Stand there," he murmured, gesturing toward the gentle glow filtering through the slats of the window. "Come closer, I want to see you." My breath hitched, a stirring in my chest that had long been absent. This space was not a studio. It resembled a confession booth. The shadows whispered, the silence urged, compelling me to uncover a truth I had yet to recognize within myself. I whispered to myself that I wasn't cut out for the runway, yet I found the courage to step into the light regardless. He inclined his head, capturing me within his lens. "You are mistaken. It seems you have yet to be truly recognized." The initial click resonated like a heartbeat, followed by another and yet another. With every click of the shutter, a hidden fragment within me began to unravel. His gaze was not analytical. It was filled with a yearning reverence, as if he sought to strip away every layer I presented to the world. "Loosen your blouse," he murmured. "Just a little." For just a fleeting moment I paused. Fabric glided, collarbone exposed, shoulder bare, breath caught. Yet he refrained from physical contact, instead choosing to capture, admire, and worship me from behind glass and lens, enveloped in silence. He observed the pain within you, uttering those words after the final click. "You meander through life, striving to embody another's interpretation of adequacy." I took a deep breath. "What do you observe at this moment?" He gradually lowered the camera, and our eyes locked in a moment of connection. A woman teetering on the edge of defiance, poised to shatter every rule she's ever set for herself. And in an instant, the reasons for my choices slipped from my mind. The stillness enveloping us grew denser, crackling with an energy that rendered my skin taut against my frame. Micah placed the camera down gently, as if the moment ahead required no embellishments, only the stark, honest reality. "You ought to return out there," he remarked. Yet, his voice lacked the fervor that his eyes conveyed. As he passed me my blouse, his fingers lightly grazed against mine. It was no mere coincidence. "I ought to," I murmured, yet I remained still. He moved nearer, the space between us dwindling. "Please urge me to cease." I had the desire to. I made an effort, yet my voice remained stubbornly silent. For the simple reason that the truth? I wished he wouldn't. His hand glided to my jaw, deliberate and measured, exploring. His thumb glided along the edge of my lips, an act that carried a deeper intimacy than any kiss I had experienced in months. A chill coursed through me. He observed. "This isn't about love," he murmured. "It revolves around the concept of permission, the essence of desire, and the act of embracing something you once believed you needed to conceal." In that instant, everything came apart at the seams, the meticulously guarded truths of a union that had dimmed amidst the clutter of tasks and hollow embraces, the silent pain I had endured for countless years. His lips brushed against mine, not with urgency but with a sense of deep respect, and I returned his kiss, completely intentionally, a kiss that crafts its own excuse. Fingers explored, breaths intertwined, garments slipped away, ethics faded. Silence enveloped us. We have just laid bare our truths. Through our physical forms, amidst the searing turmoil and the cacophony surrounding me, a profound realization dawned. I had not truly felt like myself in years. Micah failed to offer me anything novel. He returned to me a piece of what I had once misplaced. I perched on the edge of Micah's bed, half-clothed, my skin alive with sensation, my heart pounding in my chest. The room had taken on a dim quality, the late afternoon sun spilling golden streaks across the floorboards, reminiscent of guilt attempting to masquerade as light. Micah leaned against the wall, bare-chested, observing me, not with possession or arrogance, but simply with an air of presence. His silence bore a weight greater than any spoken phrase. "Are you all right?" he finally inquired, his voice scarcely rising above a whisper. I nodded with an eagerness that perhaps betrayed my thoughts. "Indeed, I concur." Yet, we were acutely aware that the situation was far from straightforward. The aroma of him clung to my skin, fresh, virile, irresistible. Every nerve in my body still vibrated from his touch, as if I had been rewired from the inside out. I felt no regret. Relief eluded me. I found myself in a state of conflict. The soft buzz of my phone resonated against the floor. A note from Mark, my husband. "The meal is currently being prepared in the oven. I eagerly anticipate our meeting this evening." The familiar pang resurfaced, yet this time it bore no trace of longing. It was a matter of greater intricacy, regret, numerical value. "Not at this moment." Micah's gaze darted to the phone before returning to meet my own. "The decision lies in your hands regarding its significance to you." I rose gradually, collecting the fragments of my being strewn throughout his space. My garments, my sense of self, my uncertainty. "I cannot decipher its meaning," I murmured. "Yet I am acutely aware of the emotions it stirred within me." "What about it?" I awoke. He inclined his head, drawing nearer, yet refraining from making contact. Then resist the urge to drift back into slumber. As I emerged into the cool embrace of the evening air, the door whispered shut behind me. My body still throbbed from his touch, while my heart ached for an entirely different reason. In the delicate space that lies between treachery and honesty, I stumbled upon a reflection of myself that felt both foreign and inescapable. What comes next? I found myself sharing a space with her. The evening air enveloped me, a whispered secret, cool and laced with the fragrance of impending transformation. I navigated the road in quietude, my hands quaking on the steering wheel, my heart pounding like a relentless drum that refused to be silenced. Each red light loomed as a verdict upon my soul. With each twist, an inquiry I found myself unprepared to confront. Mark lingered in the kitchen, the gentle illumination of the overhead lights revealing the worry etched across his face as I entered. He smiled, radiating warmth and innocence, extending a glass of wine as if the world around him remained untouched. And yet all had changed. Has it been a lengthy day? He inquired softly. I nodded, accepting the wine, my lips grazing the rim yet refraining from taking a sip. One might indeed suggest that. He leaned in and pressed his lips to my cheek, the gesture both innocent and familiar, and it unleashed a torrent of emotion within me. Remorse? Indeed, guilt would be a simplistic response. What I experienced was a profound sensation, struggle, longing, reality. As he pivoted to inspect the oven, I glimpsed my reflection in the kitchen window. My eyes dimmed, my lips gently ajar. A woman gazed back at me, caught in a moment of uncertainty, having crossed a threshold yet hesitating to retreat. Suddenly his phone vibrated with a buzz. I cast a fleeting glance at it, my mind elsewhere. An unfamiliar name, a glimpse of a message that sent a chill through my veins. Shall we meet at the same hour tomorrow? Last night lingers in my mind, an unshakable presence that refuses to fade. My breath hitched. Mark pivoted at the precise moment I glanced upward, his expression transforming briefly, only to be swiftly concealed once more behind his facade. Is everything all right? He inquired with an unsettling nonchalance. And in an instant the world shifted once more. Secrets were not mine alone to bear. Perhaps, just perhaps, I wasn't the sole bearer of a secret longing to be revealed. In that fleeting instant the world around us stood still. My fingers gripped the wine glass with a deliberate intensity as I placed it down with care, almost as if I were engaging in a ritual, readying myself for something profound or utterly catastrophic. A message has arrived, I stated, my tone calm yet subdued. I understand, he replied. The revelation struck with a force I hadn't anticipated. So you won't refute it, then? He shrugged, indicating that he could, yet that would cast me as a deceiver. In all honesty, I believe we have both grown weary of the facade. My breath hitched. He advanced with deliberate slowness, pausing mere inches from my skin. It seems we've both been wandering apart, wouldn't you agree? Clinging to a vision of us that has faded into the realm of illusion. My throat constricted. What comes next? He released a long measured breath. We cease the charade. We begin by embracing honesty within ourselves and among one another. I caught sight of someone, I murmured. It was not something I had anticipated. I never imagined I was capable of that. He inclined his head with deliberation. I did as well. In the kitchen, we found ourselves enveloped by a silence thick with unspoken words, yet finally brought to light. In that quiet moment, an unforeseen revelation took shape. Lucidity. This was not the conclusion of love. Perhaps it signifies the conclusion of the deception we embraced regarding how it ought to appear. It seemed to herald a new chapter,